We arrive in Yarram the way most people do, quietly. A turn off the highway, a slowing of pace, the feeling that the land itself is asking you not to rush. At first glance, it's a country town doing country town things. A bakery window catching the morning light, a pub that's seen more stories than it could ever retell in one lifetime. Wide streets, built for horses and carts long before utes and caravans. And then, almost without warning, the walls start talking. Murals, large, patient, unmissable. Not shouting, not demanding attention, just remembering. This video is a walk through those memories. Yarram's murals aren't here to impress art critics or chase trends. They're here for a different reason. They exist because this town decided that forgetting was not an option. Look closely and you'll see it. Timber workers, dairy farmers, drovers, families standing stiffly for photographs that once took minutes to expose. Steam trains and early trucks. Shops that no longer exist. Trades that faded as the world sped up. These walls are not nostalgia for nostalgia's sake. They are a ledger, a quiet accounting of what built this place. Towns like Yarram didn't just appear. They were assembled, slowly, by hands, weather, luck, and stubbornness. The murals trace that lineage. One wall speaks of the forests, not the romantic forests of postcards, but working forests. Sawn, hauled, milled. Men with axes and cross-cut saws, muscles shaped by repetition. Timber that became houses, bridges, fence posts. Timber that turned wilderness into settlement, for better and worse. Another mural shifts us into dairying country. Cows moving through mist, milking sheds. The daily rhythm that doesn't care about weekends or holidays. Milk doesn't wait. Seasons don't negotiate. These images remind us that rural life was never quaint. It was relentless. There's something important happening here. In cities, history often lives behind glass. Museums, plaques, dates pinned down like insects. In Yarram, history is outside. It weathers, it fades slightly, it gets repainted, it stays part of daily life. Kids ride bikes past it. Locals park their cars in front of it. Visitors stop, point, read, move on. The murals aren't sacred objects, they're companions, and that might be their greatest strength, because remembering only matters if it's lived with. As we move from wall to wall, there's a sense of continuity, one story bleeding into the next. No single hero, no neat ending, just accumulation, generation after generation doing what needed to be done at the time. It's tempting to romanticize the past, to imagine simpler days. The murals resist that temptation. They show effort, dirt, strain, uncertainty. They show towns rising because people stayed when it would have been easier to leave. That's the unspoken subtext here. Endurance. Yarram has seen booms and slowdowns. Industries rise, industries fall. Rail lines arrive, rail lines disappear. Young people leave, some return. Through it all, the town adapts. The murals don't freeze Yarram in time, they anchor it. They say, this happened, this mattered. And in a world that forgets quickly, that's a radical act. There's also a generosity in these paintings. They don't claim ownership of the story, they invite you into it. You don't need to know the names, you don't need to know the dates. You just need to stand there long enough to feel the weight of continuity. baker whose great-grandparents appear on the wall down the street. The farmer whose work still echoes in painted hands from a century ago. The visitor who realises, maybe for the first time, that every town has a backbone, usually invisible, often unthanked. Murals like these change how you move through a place. Suddenly the street isn't just a street, it's a timeline. And you, passing through, camera in hand, become part of it for a moment. There's a quiet power in that. Because remembering isn't about dwelling in the past, it's about understanding the present. When we talk about regional towns struggling, about services disappearing, about young people leaving, these walls provide context. They remind us that resilience didn't come from nowhere. It was learned, earned, passed down. The people in these murals didn't know how the story would turn out. They were just doing the work in front of them. And maybe that's the lesson Yarram is offering. Without preaching, without slogans. Care for what you inherit. Pay attention to what you're standing on. Leave something worth remembering. As we finish this walk, the murals don't conclude. They don't wrap things up neatly. They simply remain. Paint on brick. Stories on walls. A town choosing, again and again, not to let its foundations slip quietly into silence. Yarram remembers. And by walking these streets, by looking, really looking, we remember too. The walls have done their job.